Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. I've been living with my roommate, Rose, since the beginning of the quarantine. We didn't choose to be each other's roommates. Everything was by landlord. We aren't exactly close since we're just roommates. I tend to stay in my room and every now and then we talk. But it's mostly just hi, hello, good morning, etc. Recently, Rose had an issue and she needed to bring her daughter in, 4 years old. I'm not sure what happened entirely. I just know that it's an emergency. The girl has been here for 3 months. At the beginning, we had a long talk about boundaries, agreements, etc. because of the sudden addition. I told her that under no circumstances would I be a babysitter even if I get a stay-at-home week or day. I don't want to suddenly become the constant babysitter. Rose cannot work at home, but I sometimes am able to. She agreed and explained that she's perfectly okay with this so long as I'm okay with her inviting either babysitters or family to watch the baby. I agreed so long as they didn't get a copy of the key. Like maybe one family member or babysitter, but not all of them. Where I might be the a-hole. Rose apparently couldn't find a babysitter or something because when I woke up, the baby was in my bed, sleeping. And she left a note or text explaining that her babysitter couldn't come. I was absolutely pissed. I tried texting and calling, but she didn't answer and I had to work in person. I called up a friend for a favor and they babysat while I worked. I told them of any allergies, etc. When I got home, Rose was pissed that I left the baby with a stranger. She said that while my friend was nice, that I had no right to leave the baby with someone she personally didn't know and that I never knew what could happen. She says that she understands I had work, but that I'm being ridiculous to not ever offer babysitting at all, especially if I'm home for a week on a week off, where I think I'm not the a-hole. I was cranky and told her to F off because I had work, and could have left the baby alone, and that I told her to never rely on me for babysitting, etc. I trust my friend since he's been working in daycare. She's angry and says I don't know how I endangered the baby and that she will call the police the next time. I told her that I will call the police the next time she leaves the baby alone. Edit. Because some are confused on why I think I'm an ass or posted this, the main issue from Rose's side is that I left a male babysitter, who is a stranger to her. And there's this thing against babysitters being males. Maybe not in some cultures. I thought it was more obvious from the post alone, but I'm just clarifying here. Also, I don't think I can call the police exactly when I'm in the apartment. I don't want to stir up shit fast, but it's kinda late for that. As for the baby, yeah, no, waking up to a kicking baby is not fun. I'm thinking of getting a new roommate. Everything is just harder and screwed over because of COVID. My friend is a boy, and in a lot of places having a male babysitter is like the worst thing you can do, since people will assume certain things. I'm sure you know. That's why I'm worried about being the a-hole. Wow, so Rose claims she is not the a-hole for leaving the baby with you because she had to go to work. But she believes you're the a-hole for leaving her baby with your friend to babysit because you had to go to work. Her thought process is wild and crazy. You're not the a-hole. The least she could have done when she couldn't get a babysitter was wake you up and talk to you about the situation, but no. Instead, she decided to just leave her baby beside your sleeping body, turn off her cell phone, and go to work. She sounds like a bad mom and person. Next time she does this, I would advise you to call the police. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Good God. Who just leaves their baby in their roommate's bed when they haven't consented to babysit? Something is very, very wrong with Rose. You made sure someone was watching the child, which was the right thing to do, even though it wasn't your responsibility. You are more than fine. Here's the thing. Slipping the baby in without waking you and dodging your calls is a serious problem. What if you rolled over and broke the kid's arm and are rushing them to the emergency room, and she's just fiddling away dodging your calls? No one is there to answer the doctor's questions about allergies or medication. That is really dangerous. It's also possible that you could get in serious trouble. CPS should be your second call. After trying Rose. Something is wrong though. Think about it. She had issues with you leaving the baby with the guy because you never know, but you've already said you guys are basically strangers that live together and only exchange pleasantries. She took her female child and put her in the bed of basically a stranger. How does she know you wouldn't be creepy? She is so lucky you are none of those things. And actually cared that someone watched the baby. Absolutely not the a-hole. You went above and beyond by calling your friend to babysit. Next time, call the police for an abandoned baby. You've warned her. Story 2. I got married last weekend in my parents' house, which has been in the family for generations. For health reasons, only the immediate family was there. My daughter, 16 female, has been calling her new stepmom, 21 female, names like homewrecker and prostitute, and I have been patient with her. She assumes I left her late mother because she had breast cancer. However, I did not leave her mother for having cancer. Nobody decides to have cancer. However, her late mother kept using her illness to devalue me and my sense of identity. She would criticize the way I was taking care of her, and even stuff like my hygiene or the cologne I was wearing. She made me feel worthless, and I felt like she was projecting her own insecurities by saying the smell of my cologne was disgusting, because she never made an effort to keep herself up, and despite the fact that I objectively found her disgusting sometimes, I stuck by her until my self-esteem was destroyed. I would work hard closing deals all day and be acknowledged for my efforts at work. Yet I would go home and she would criticize and nag me about every ounce of my being. I met a stepmom when I was in a dark place. She made me feel like I could be myself again. My wife made me feel unattractive and sexless, and with my new wife, I felt alive. Just the fact that she appreciated me and felt physical chemistry with me made me want to do anything for her, to want to provide for her. That's when I decided not to bullshit my wife anymore and file for divorce. Since then, my daughter's relatives from her mom's side had been poisoning her against me. Last weekend, when my stepmom and I went to the site of the wedding early, we expected to see her drive to the wedding later. But instead, she ended up going to stay with her aunt. Everybody asked where she was, and there was chaos from my side of the family locating her. As punishment, I took her car and allowance away and have taken her phone away until I feel that she can learn to be respectful towards someone I very much love, and that it will be impossible for her to do that if she keeps having to hear from her late mom's side of the family. My parents have called and said that I was being too harsh. However, even when things are tough, I feel I cannot let a child of mine believe they can just do whatever they want. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, OP. You cheated on her mother. Regardless of the situation, that's all she sees. She doesn't know your marriage problems. All they know is that you left her mother for another woman. On top of that, you're marrying said woman when your 16-year-old daughter is still trying to deal with her mother's passing. Off effing course she didn't want to go. You're the a-hole for not trying to be more understanding of your daughter, for trying to force her, and then for punishing her. Now for some comments. It's very common for people's sense of smell and taste to change while going through chemo. If you took the time to care for and support your wife, you would have learned that. There would probably be nothing you could do to change how you smelled. Seriously, I know a cancer patient that went nuts, smelling her nurse's body odor, and no one could smell a darn thing. But you could have been sympathetic. You're an unbelievable a-hole. I really hope this is fake. Oh wow, poor guy working like everyone else without the appreciation of his jerky cancer-stricken wife. Your hygiene directly impacts the health of someone with a compromised immune system. But who cares about a compromised immune system when you closed deals all day? It must really suck for you that the chemicals killing the cancer in her body changed her sense of smell and ability to tolerate your cologne. That must have been like super hard for you. You're the a-hole. Give your daughter back her stuff and go get some counseling. You're the a-hole. Your daughter calling your wife a prostitute and a hoe is not okay. Your daughter not going to your wedding is fine. Your daughter not liking your new wife is fine. Your daughter thinking you are gross and having her own opinions about the nature of your relationship with her mother is fine. You are a grown man who left a woman with breast cancer while raising a teenage daughter who was in the process of losing a mother. You then punished your daughter for having feelings. You're the a-hole, and you may have irrevocably damaged your relationship with your kid because you didn't feel alive enough while your ex was dying. Story 3. Would just like to preface this by saying I, 37 male, walked out not in a malicious protest, but because I wanted to cool off. So here goes. My wife, 38 female, and daughter, 11, got into a jockey discussion about alien invasions and apocalyptic situations. Then my daughter asks if my wife would protect her in this situation, and my wife says, "I love you more than I love anybody else in the world." Yes, she says this in front of me. My wife then puts her arm around my shoulder and goes on to say that her father, aka me, and I would use each other as shields against any danger that comes to her, meaning she would gladly sacrifice me. At that point, I picked up my keys and said, "Gee, thanks. Go ahead and start lunch without me." My wife suddenly gets self-righteous and says there was no way I could expect to choose a spouse over a kid. I felt like she had just shit on our entire marriage and life vows. And the principle aside, the fact I was furious, I think should have been enough to excuse me leaving the house. So I left the house and drove around to cool off. Then I went over to my sister's house because I told her how upset I was, and as a result, she and her spouse invited me to have dinner with them. I may have ignored some calls from my wife, but she knew where I was, and in addition, I just couldn't see her or be in the house at the moment. I always felt like my wife loved the kids more than me, and it hurts. The fact that she would hypothetically and do casually throw me to the wolves was making me question if I loved her more than she loved me, and if so, why I bothered to give her my loyalty, when there could be other women, like my sister, who valued their spouse more than anything. Am I the a-hole? Not for my beliefs, but for the fact that I took the time to cool off. I needed this time because I was seriously and suddenly regretting a lot of the sacrifices I made for this woman. When it wasn't like I didn't have other options. Women in their early 20s have hit on me, but I ignored in favor of the women who I thought would put me first. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Kids come first. Many parents who have lost a child have said, "I would willingly trade places and give my life to save theirs." Look, you're going to die in 30 years, but your kid has 50 years ahead of her. So of course she should be protected. Now, leaving to cool off is a good move, but wanting your spouse to love you more than your children is an infantile response. Grow up. You sound so similar to my father. I have been laughing for a good minute. My father said very similar things throughout my childhood to me and my sister. So I believe people like this exist. My father will complain all the time that my mom cared more about me and my sister than him. I am so happy she left him. After she left him, it was, "I don't know why I stayed with your mother. I had women half my age all over me, and I always refused them." You're the a-hole, OP. I really hope this is a troll post because I have a lot of questions. What kind of a grown man has a toddler tantrum because his wife would first protect their young innocent child in a dangerous situation? What kind of father doesn't want to sacrifice himself to save his kids if the situation called for it? How is this such a shock for you? Did you really think your wife would watch her daughter die just to save you in this theoretical disaster? I'm genuinely perplexed at what kind of person could type this up and feel justified enough to even ask if they're the a-holes. All of this screams narcissist.